This time I remember.
Good morning, Matt.
Good morning.
Yeah, Marguerite, what Kevin is talking about, I do the same thing at Ingles, for example. I just turn my phone towards them, they scan my card, and then when it comes time to pay, I just put my phone near the little gizmo there at the cash register. So it is truly touchless, touchless transaction. I love it.
I do the same thing, Ken, normally, but I was impressed with Kevin. He just handed his wrist over and didn't pull the phone out of his pocket. And that's when I got my private lesson in the middle of the store. Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.
Yeah, if you have the watch, definitely that's the way to go. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, George.
Let's get started today. So it's already May. I tell you, okay. So today we're going to be dealing with some settings in iOS that I think you may or may not be aware of that can make your life a little bit easier. Go through those. First one is our steering committee, Matt Canizio. David Day, I didn't see David log in.
He's at the shore, I think.
Yeah, rub it in. Terry Maros. Marguerite Peterson. Ed Sheeran. Gian Sparks. Did Gian log in?
Yeah.
I'm George Wagner and Bob Wilkerson. I didn't see Bob is here today. So if you have questions, have suggestions, things you want to see, please contact one of the people on this list. We will help try to make that a reality. Always looking for content, things that people want us to talk about so they can get more out of their equipment. So don't hesitate to let us know. So what we're dealing with today, and of course I forgot to put the bullet points on this slide, so we'll be skipping over this one real quick. Sorry about that. That's not the right one. We get rid of that slide all together.
Oh, what if?
Okay. The first we're going to talk about text replacement. What this does is it really can streamline a lot of things. You can replace like an email address with a shortcut of characters so that you don't have to type out the whole email address every time you do it. It also makes sure that the email address is typed correctly every single time. Nothing worse than hitting a T for a Y or an O for U, and all of a sudden somebody can't send that email to you. It's also good for phrases that you use often, websites, various different things that you use often that may or may not be complicated to type out, but it also even if it's simple to type out, it does eliminate the chance that you could do a fat finger and put a wrong letter in there. So to create a text replacement, you go into settings, go to general, you go down to keyboard, and you'll see text replacements. So here's some of the ones I have. I use the phrase sounds like a plan a lot, so I just do SLP. Now, the important thing is that your shortcut abbreviation must be something that is not an actual word, something that you won't use in normal typing because you don't want to replace somebody's name with something wrong. Okay, I have for you can see the SM $ is my social media, like Venmo, PayPal, Cash App type things, social media, contact information. That way, in one small little phrase, I can put on all of my social media information. I've also noticed that for some reason, my phone allows me to type in SONE instead of some. So I just have it automatically replace SONE with some. improve my spelling check. And then see, you'll also see another one down there, the TGA. For some reason, it allows those words to stay, so I tell it to replace it. I have, if I type in TMUG, it replaces it with Transylvania Mac Users Group. Now, you can always override that, so it's just like the predictive typing. It can come up with a suggestion and just hit the little X and it won't do it. So for the TMUG, sometimes I will use TMUG. But if you want to create one, you hit the little plus at the top, and you come up with the phrase, and the phrase can be as long as you like. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll type the phrase in Notepad, get it the way I like it. If it's a multiple line phrase, you can do that, and then paste it in there, and then the shortcut is basically going to be your phrase that you type in to trigger it. And like that, the key there is just make sure that it's something that is unique, that won't be typed in accidentally, or won't be needed elsewhere. And the nice thing about that is those can be typed in anywhere you can enter text. These can also be set up on the computer. Same, it's in the keyboard preferences. And again, anywhere you have a cursor that you can type these in. You can use these shortcuts, text replacements. Okay. Zoom. There's a lot of times you want something bigger, but not necessarily all the time. You don't want to, you can make your text bigger, and we'll talk about that in a second, actually. But you may not want the whole screen bigger all the time. The zoom function you can turn on. That's also in. I missed the screen before that. Zoom function is in general. Is it in general? No, I'm sorry.
Accessible.
Accessibility. Yep.
Yeah.
Accessible. Just go to accessibility in settings. That'll bring you into Zoom. You turn the zoom function on. 3 fingers double tapped on the screen will basically toggle the screen between the normal state and the zoom state. 3 fingers in will toggle it back. Now, to choose the size you want for your zoom, if you do 3 fingers and on that second tap, don't pick up, just slide. You can increase the zoom of the screen till you get it where you like it, and then remove your fingers from the screen, and that's where it will toggle between until you change it by doing that same function again. When you're within a zoomed area, if you want to scroll around the area, because you can only see a little bit of the screen, you basically use 3 fingers, and you can drag that kind of the zoom window around so that you can see more areas on the screen. 3 fingers double tap will bring it back to normal. Okay. They do have options. You can choose the follow focus, which I believe is following your eyes on the screen, since it has on the ones that have facial recognition. I haven't tried that yet. I should try that. Keyboard shortcuts. If you're using a keyboard, you can basically set the zoom to be used by keyboard, triggered by keyboard shortcut. The zoom controller, and it brings up a little controller on the screen that you can adjust the zoom depth rather than having to do the 3 fingers. And then I have it set for full screen, but you can also do a windowed view, which is like a little magnifying glass. Okay. But playing around with them, there's a lot of features in accessibility that you might find useful. I'll be talking about some of them here. Okay. Display and text size. Now, this one I use a lot. So you go into accessibility, the display and text size. I like bold text. Apple used a new font on the iPhones. There's a thin, light font. I find it sometimes hard to read, so I put it bold, makes it much easier to read. You can set the larger text. Now, this Apple has within its normal settings the ability to increase the font size up to a particular size. Larger text lets you go even further, so it's designed more for somebody with visual impaired. but you can actually go even larger. You can put button shapes. So any button that's on the screen will have a border, makes it more obvious that it's a button. And then you can also put labels on those, and just puts more information on the screen. Can be useful, but also can clutter the screen. Reduced transparency will basically some of the special features Apple has for the looks for making this look transparent. They'll take off, and what that does is it's more useful on the older phones because it will speed things up a little bit because it doesn't have to deal with all those visual extras. Okay. Increasing contrast basically will get rid of some of your grays. Everything will be more black, white, more solid colors. A lot of the hues will disappear. It makes it a little easier to see, but you lose some of the prettiness of it. So it's a takeoff. Okay. It didn't go into differentiation without color. I think that's right. I'm not sure what that one does. I'd have to look at that one, but you can play around with a lot of things and find some very useful things. The touch, also in accessibility, down to touch, you can basically get oops, hang on. I think I forgot. I think I have one that's on the wrong layer. Sorry, I finished this up last night and I did not. There it is. Nope, still missed it. There we go. Okay. So there's a lot of features in here. Assistive touch is if you have someone needs an adaptive accessory for it. When I had to with that one, reachability basically brings the top half of the screen down. So if you do a lot of one-handed type of thing, you put that in there. Haptic touch lets you press on the display for different lengths of time to reveal different actions, textual menus. But the ones I want to do is here. Tap to wake, I like. Instead of having to hit the button on the side to wake up your phone, you just tap the screen and it will wake up. Shake to undo. If you ever make a mistake, you can just shake the phone and it basically gives you the option to undo the last thing you did. Vibration. I like the vibration, so I leave that on, but basically, if you don't like the vibration option, or if it sometimes it makes noise when you're trying to be quiet, you can turn that vibration option off. But keep in mind, doing that oftentimes will mean you're going to miss things if your phone is silenced. Okay. And then to the prevent lock to end call, the button on the side, if you're in an active call, button on the side will hang up the call. You can turn that off if you don't like that option. If you find yourself accidentally hang up the phone on people, turn that off. Face ID and attention. If you scroll down to Face ID and attention, you'll have require attention for Face ID. What that means is you actually have to look at the camera. I found that tripped me up a couple times because I was doing something that needed a password and it wasn't doing it, and I just had to raise my head to look at the top of the screen because I was reading what was on the screen. But it adds a level of security. Some sunglasses may have a problem with that, but I usually have no problem with the sunglasses unless it's dark. If it's really dark, I don't know why we'd be wearing sunglasses.
George, would that require attention for Face ID? I don't find that I have to look at the top of my screen. Now, I just have a 13, not a large phone. You know, it's not a Pro with the larger screen. But I can be reading the text on as long as I'm looking at the phone. If I take my eyes away from the phone, if I'm not looking at the phone, it'll keep trying to do Face ID and say, hey, you know, do you want us to start it again?
Yeah, I found that if I don't know if it's how far down, but if I'm looking down, I have to actually just raise my eyes for it to trigger, because it'll just sit there and spin and sometimes fail. So it's usually if you're looking at the screen, you should be okay. But sometimes maybe if you're at the bottom of the screen, depending on the angle they hold the phone, you may have that problem. If that's not triggering, just look up the camera and it should trigger it without a problem. The attention awareness feature is nice because if you're reading a longer article and you haven't scrolled the screen or done anything, your dimming feature will not trigger if it sees that your eyes are on the screen. I used to hate it when I'd be reading something and my screen would dim on me, and it was just annoying. The bottom of the haptic on successful authentication, all that does is give you that little vibration so that you know that it was successful in identifying the Face ID. But I do like the attention features because they do save me a little bit of frustration with the dimming and the adds that level of security. Okay. Now the side button, if you have trouble with double clicking, if you're not fast enough doing the double click, you can slow down the requirement so that the time between click 1 and click 2 is longer. That's for the double or the triple click. That way you're more successful doing it. That one is important because a lot of times people do have trouble hitting that button fast enough, and it takes those 2 separate clicks and doesn't. If you want to do verification of a purchase, it
Right.
wants to.
Yeah, I had to modify it to slow because whenever I use the App Store,
Yeah.
you know, I use the iPad more in landscape than portrait. So sometimes it shows you where you're supposed to click, but by the time I switch it around and do it, it used to fail. So now I've put it to slow. It works fine. Also, there's something in Siri that allows you to slow down. Oh, Siri to slow Siri down. Sometimes Siri would freak out because I wasn't speaking fast enough, or I didn't. I said, "Hey Siri," and then if I took more than 1 or 2 seconds, it didn't like it. So I changed that also. I don't know if you'll go over that, but that I found useful.
Yeah, there's a lot of options. I won't be going into detail on today that you might find very useful as well. So when you get time, just play around and look at all the different options in not just in settings, but in accessibility. Oops, I think it's supposed to be. It's got to change the problem with doing late night stuff. Well, I can't even spell. Still can't spell T. Okay. Now here, I don't know how many people use the Apple TV remote on the phone. I use it a lot. And it uses the touch screen similar to the Apple remote uses the little touch screen. But the problem is sometimes that touch screen is too sensitive or not sensitive enough. You can choose to put the directional arrows on there so you can basically do right, left, instead of having to slide. So you have that option. Do you remember the old TV remote had the directional arrows similar to the early actual physical remote? And when they you moved to the new one, they took them off, but they left the option there. Well, I forgot. I missed all mine. I don't see the word. Excuse me. Oh, crap, settings. Okay. Okay. So they have an option that I found recently that's very, very useful. It's called the per app settings. And I don't have it. There we go. And what it allows you to do is on each app, you can customize some of these features so that you may not want font to be, really big in all your apps, but maybe in this one app, for some reason, you want it to be bigger. So you can go into a particular app and you can add bold text or take bold text off. You can make the larger font in that app versus other apps. So it allows you to do these things on an app by app basis rather than by a system basis. I find that very useful. I don't use it often, but oftentimes on the text, I find that one app is better, a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. That way I don't have to sacrifice all my other apps to make that change. All right. That's all I went into. But like I said, play around. Don't be afraid to look at options, see what they do, because there's a lot of times it's very useful things for everybody. Even if you don't have a physical impairment, you can get a lot of benefit from some of those things they've created for people with those disabilities. So let's open it up for
A question.
Go ahead.
Sometimes looking at a spreadsheet or text with my hand on the mouse, suddenly the screen gets much larger. And I don't know what I'm doing to create that situation.
You probably leaned on the control key. The control key with the slider, or if you've got the touch pad on top, will increase or decrease zoom level on the screen.
But I'm holding the mouse. Is it on the, what am I doing with the mouse?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you hold the control key down on the keyboard, you can control the zoom.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Hit the keyboard or hit the key. Or I actually had somebody once, they laid something down and just happened to hit the key, and it was doing it, holding that down. They didn't understand why it was doing what it was doing, and that's.
Well, my keyboard is usually clear, but if my hand's on the mouse and I'm going to scroll to a different part of the spreadsheet, whatever, and suddenly the screen gets really big, I don't know what I'm doing with my right hand on the mouse to create that.
Well, you shouldn't be able to do that with the mouse alone. It usually requires the control key with the mouse.
Well, I'll look for that in the future. Thank you.
What you might want to do, sometimes I've seen with the control key, you'll hit it for something and it stays on, even though it's not physically plugged down. The system sees it as being on. So if that ever happens, just tap and release the control key to release it.
Sometimes on a text, I can see that on the bottom right of the screen, there's a slider that increases or decreases the size. And if I see that, I can go back to the size I had before. But sometimes there isn't that slider where I can change it. And sometimes I have to exit that app and then go back in it, or exit that screen and go back in it, and it's back to normal size again.
Okay, so actually that's not the zoom, system zoom.
Yeah,
that's what
the app.
Yeah. Is that Keynote? Oh, I'm sorry, Numbers or Excel?
Excel.
Okay. I'd have to check to see what Excel uses, but the Excel will have an option to zoom the spreadsheet. And what we need to do is see what it requires, and that is actually being done accidentally. And we might be able to turn that off.
And I think with Excel, there is that slider at the bottom where I can increase or decrease the size. But if I'm on a Word document, or reading, sometimes reading an email, the lettering will get huge.
Hmm.
And I don't know what I'm doing with my right hand because it's usually I'm not touching the keyboard at the same time. It's just with the mouse. And
Yeah.
one time I was able to tap the mouse and it went back, but other times I've tapped it again and it doesn't change. I just have to exit the
Yeah.
the-
I use Apple's Numbers and Pages. I haven't used Word, for my own primary program for a long time. Is anybody familiar with the Zoom, the
You
increase
can,
in Word?
you can check and see whether on your Mac under on your system preferences, which operating system are you running?
the latest one.
Okay, so you can go under system settings and go to accessibility.
Yeah, but
And
Kevin,
yeah,
it's only within the app. If he quits and goes back in, it's fine. If it was the system, it would still be zoomed. So it's a function within Word or Excel that's zooming.
okay.
I use Open Office for my spreadsheet and documents and things like that. And I also run into the same thing. That sometimes the spreadsheet will get real big or whatever it is. And it just has to do with the sensitivity of the magic mouse or whatever you call it. And sometimes it triggers these things. Again, it only seems to be when I'm using the spreadsheet aspect of Open Office.
All right, I'm just trying to, like I said, one time I was able to tap the mouse again and it went back to normal size, but not always.
Hmm.
Hey, this
When
is
you tap
Ken, and
when you tap the mouse again, are you tapping with multiple fingers or just one finger?
Just one finger. Usually, sometimes it's to the front, sometimes it's to the top. But I usually keep my index finger on my right hand toward the right or left side if I'm tapping. So maybe I'm tapping the middle. So that's why sometimes I'll tap the middle and it'll go back, but that's only happened once. Most time I just have to leave whatever I'm in and go back. And sometimes even in the email.
Hmm.
And it just doesn't seem to make a rhyme or reason.
So if it's happening in your sometimes in your email and in your Excel, does that mean it's app specific? I mean, the Zoom, the accessibility setting is tapping 3 times. If that's turned on, tapping 3 times will access Zoom. So you could go in and just make
Maybe look at that, because maybe that's what I'm doing. Maybe I'm like a nervous finger, I'm just tapping it several times without realizing it.
Yeah, go to system settings, go to accessibility in the left column, and
Okay.
then tap and then click on Zoom.
All right, I'll try that.
Check down, the second one down should be turned off. That's so you don't accidentally access the Zoom unless you want to, but it's a 3-finger.
Well, it's possible I'm doing that.
I was checking and Excel uses the same control and the scroll wheel or the slide on top of the mouse. So not sure how you'd be doing it otherwise in Excel.
Yeah. All right, I'll try those options. Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say I have the same problem, but mine is not app specific. I don't know whether it's my 3 fingers or whether it's my mouse, but I'll be reading a newspaper and all of a sudden it'll explode, or I'll be working on a spreadsheet and it'll explode, and it's down to just 2 cells. I don't know what I'm doing. And often I have to shut the app down to get it back to normal. So you're not alone.
Okay.
Now you said this on the computer, correct?
Yes.
So I know the on the iPads and phones they have the smart zoom where if you double tap on an article, it will bring the article up to fill the screen. But I don't think that works with it that way on the computer.
I've had the same problem with my phone, and it'll go to a huge zoom And the only way I can fix it is just shut the phone off and turn it on again.
You can try double tapping with 3 fingers on your screen, because I've done that. It zooms my screen, and then I must have accidentally done it. And then if I double tap with 3 fingers on the screen, it'll come back to normal.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Yeah, if I find the Zoom be useful, but you can turn it off completely in the Zoom settings if you don't want it to zoom at all. But sometimes that can be useful, so it is a nice feature to have.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Doesn't have to do with the operating system per se or anything, but is there any cheap PDF editor that I could use on the Mac? I did a little research on my own. I created something in Notes and then printed it as a PDF, and I wanted to get in there and get rid of some stuff. And I just kept running into packages that wanted to charge you X number of dollars per month to do editing on a PDF. So does anybody know a cheap PDF editor that you either buy once or something like that? Acrobat is very, very expensive.
There was some. Let me see if I have any on here.
Adobe has what they call a PDF pack, which is $90 a year, but it works beautifully.
PDF.
It's called PDF Pack, PAK, of Adobe.
Okay,
And
haven't
it's
heard that one.
$90 a year, but it works so smooth. I mean, you could convert back from Word documents to PDF, PDF to Word documents, etc. It's really a nice little package, but like I say, it's $90 a year.
Yeah.
But to me, it's worth it because sometimes you get a PDF that you want to convert to a Word document. I just drop it in there, boom, it's done.
Matt, the App Store lists a lot of free PDF editors.
See, I didn't go to the App Store. I just did a Google search and I started going through everything they had listed. So George, I really, before I ask the question, I should have gone to the App Store.
Yeah, and there's a bunch that don't have in-app purchases listed at all. They just free, so give them a shot.
Yeah,
some got 5 stars, so there's some decent ones in there.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I was using it for. I was taking screenshots while I was on YouTube, and then I put the screenshots together as a note, and then I want to get rid of all the superfluous materials, between the screenshots. I just wanted a portion of each screenshot, and there was no way I could edit any of that stuff out.
Pages.
Import it into Pages?
Pages, yeah. You can do masking on each of the screenshots. That's mask out what you don't want.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, thank you. It's been a long time since I've used Pages.
Yeah, I do a lot of page layout in Pages.
Okay.
And that's great. You get a picture of somebody, you can just take down, you get all the excess stuff off there. And then if you add the feature in, I think it's in Ventura as well, where you can grab somebody out of the background without the background. That's a wonderful thing. If you don't have it on the computer, if you're not running the newest on the computer, but you do have an iPhone running iOS 16, you can basically do that, save it as an image, and you'd have it on the computer.
And you also crop your screenshots in preview. That's what I do all the time. It's very easy to do. You make a screenshot, crop it in preview, and save it. It's done.
Yeah, my problem was that, you see, I strung together as one note 6 screen
I know about
images.
it. Take each individual. When you do the screenshot, crop it then.
Yeah, but I wanted to eliminate stuff. I tried cropping. I'll cut to the chase. I tried it, didn't do what I wanted it to.
Okay.
But thank you.
Matt, when I do that, I simply copy the text itself.
Yeah.
Highlight it, copy the text, and that cuts out a lot of stuff.
Right.
And that allows me to change the font, the layout, and everything so easily without any cropping or any getting rid.
Yeah.
I do a lot of shots.
I do it
Shots.
a lot also.
But when I do what you're talking about, I try to copy the text and then edit the whole thing in a Pages document
Mhm.
to font and to layout and so on. It works really well.
Yeah.
Now,
I'll
also
be fooling with it.
on the ability to take somebody out of a picture, it's not just somebody, it's whatever's in the foreground. You take objects as well. So I don't know what your screenshots are, but if you like have a picture of something, you can take that something out of the background and then use it by itself. Yeah, those two features, being able to highlight text in a screenshot, take the object out of the background, are very, very useful.
Do you use Shift, Command, and 4 to do your screenshots, to crop your screenshots before you do it?
No, I'm on my iPad. I use the 2 buttons.
Okay, well, that Shift, Command, 4, it really works nice.
That's a lifesaver.
Yeah.
Thank you, George.
Mhm. Yeah, on the iPhones and when you do take a screenshot, you'll get that little thumbnail. If you tap that little thumbnail, you can actually get right there and then decide if you want to save it, or you can send it off to somebody, email, message, whatever, and then just delete it and never have to bog up your library. But what I'll do a lot of times, I'll edit them and a lot of the superfluous stuff out, right, take it and then save it in my photos. All right. Any other questions?
I got a question, maybe somebody help. I always put together I got 100 pictures from a conference I need to put together as the MP4. Sometimes I do it in PowerPoint and then make a MP4 out of it and put the pictures in order, etc. through PowerPoint. Has anybody ever used Keynote or iMovie to do that, where you just got 100 pictures, 100 JPEGs that you need to put together that movie?
I've done that in both actually. But you can also do that in photos. You can make a photos, make a little slide.
Can you make an MP4 out of it?
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Once you create it, you can export it.
Okay. I'll look at that then.
Yeah, but you can drag those images into iMovie and have them one after another. And then Keynote, you can one per slide and do dissolves and whichever, and that you can then export as a movie.
Okay.
So a lot of it depends on how much control you want. The photos one is quick and dirty, gives some controls, but you can't on a picture by picture basis choose what zoom it's going to do, what dissolve it's going to do. It just kind of does them all. But it does a pretty good job. It's very it uses artificial intelligence to look at what's in the image and choose accordingly.
Yeah, I've just used that for a client, and it worked out really well. It was just easy to do in photos rather than doing it anyplace else, because the transition was going to be the same from one picture to the next.
Okay.
It worked out well. So
I'll look at that then. I haven't tried photos.
Right. Anything else?
Happy Mother's Day to everybody.
All right. Well, unless somebody has another question, I think we'll call it a day. Thanks everyone for coming, and we'll see you all next month.
I have a question.
Oh, okay. What you got?
Too late, Sue.
Geez,
Meeting's over.
I've been waiting for this thing to happen.
Sorry about that. I'm probably going to be getting a Mac Mini fairly soon, and I need suggestions for the screen other than the Apple, because that one's super expensive. So is there something really good that works with the Mac Mini that you would suggest?
There's basically a lot of screens that'll work. The Mini comes with the display port and the HDMI built into it. So you can go to any HDMI or TV.
Okay, I'm losing you.
Yeah, you're breaking up.
My internet's been doing weird stuff today.
Oh.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep,
The Mini comes with the HDMI port and then the Mini display port, or actually I think it's the USB-C version now. But you can basically pick any type of monitor, but the HDMI port is fine for a lot of things. There's a lot of very good HDMI monitors and TVs that can plug right into it. What I tell people is just go someplace where you can see the monitors on to see how clear and crisp the image is, because that's your interface to your device, and if it's not clear, your eyes are going to get tired very quickly.
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody have suggestions for specific ones?
No, but when I was also going down the mini path, I did get on Amazon and check things out. And what I discovered was it was better to do a search for what they call conference call monitors. It has got the camera and the mics built in. So again, anything so that I've always liked ASUS products, ASUS. And I believe they had one that was very highly rated for that. And I would get, since you're doing it, do it right. Get a 32-inch. Don't stick with a
No.
24.
Sorry, not doing that.
All right.
You can just do a search. You can do a search that, says best monitors, best external monitors, and I've seen searches that, or I've done searches where it'll kind of say, it'll give you a range of the best overall, the best quality, which is much higher price, but it'll usually give you a range, and you can kind of pick from there. I have a Mac Mini, but it's just hooked up to my TV, so I just use the TV as my screen.
Very
My
important.
TV's in the other room, so that wouldn't work.
When you do a search like that, be very aware of where that review is coming from. Look for something that's coming from a source like PC Magazine, Mac Magazine, Tech Magazine, or something. A lot of times you'll see one that coming from bestmonitor.com, which is basically the company who's selling you the monitors.
Right.
So you want something that's very best value is usually what you find. It's going to be the best balance of quality versus price.
Thank you.
Sue, you're aware that LG, was making the Apple monitors, the big screens?
I'm sorry?
Were you aware that LG was making the Apple
No.
standalone monitors? Yeah. They sell the same product for $200 cheaper or something. It's still very expensive, but the LG, a good LG will be good.
Yeah, okay. That's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll do some research.
All right. Well, I think we're done for the day, so we'll see you guys next month.
See you next month.
See ya.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.